So my name is Sarah McCabe. I'm Deputy Secretary for a program at UNESCO called the International Program for the Development of Communication. UNESCO, as hopefully some of you know, is the UN agency mandated to promote freedom of expression and access to information. And the program that I manage, the IPDC, provides grants, small-scale grants for media development projects implemented by grassroots media organizations in developing countries around the world. One of the areas that we have been focusing on in our work in recent years is the issue of media viability, addressing it both at the level of national policies that can be put in place to support an independent media sector, but also at the level of what business models can be developed by media outlets to face the serious financial difficulties that the media sector has been facing. So we have published a number of resources on this issue. I've left a few on the table back there, just as examples. Please feel free to pick up a copy. But now I will turn to the most important part of this panel, which is, of course, the panelists. And I'll briefly introduce them to you. So firstly, we have Isabella Moy, who's a Brazilian journalist, specialist in education coverage. She has worked for the newspaper Folha de São Paulo, and currently she is the CEO and is actually the co-founder of Agência Mural, which is a nonprofit, a local news organization that serves exclusively the low-income, underserved, and underprivileged communities in the greater São Paulo area. Next to her, we have Admir Joni, who is an IT specialist, digital content administrator, and project manager at the news portal UI Info. So this is an online news portal that provides information to local communities in both Montenegrin and Albania. So it's based in Montenegro. Then next up, we have Albina Vickovic. She's the Executive Director for Development and Innovation at RTV Slon in Tuzla, the third largest city in Bosnia and Herzegovina. She's also the author and editor of several TV shows and podcasts. Joining us online, we have Victor Pichuhin. We'll see if we're able to connect with him. Hello, Victor, can you hear us? He can hear us. So I'll briefly introduce
you. I can hear you.
Welcome, Victor. Victor is a journalist and media literacy trainer in Ukraine with a specific focus on tackling disinformation campaigns. And he's also the director of development of the media Nakipilo, whose stated goal is to create a healthy and free information space in the Kharkiv region of Ukraine. Now, I need to flag that Victor was to be with us today in person, but he was wounded in a Russian drone attack on Kharkiv recently, and he did not get the medical permission to travel. So unfortunately, we need to connect with him online. I would just like to express my full solidarity with you, Victor, and we're very pleased that you are at least able to participate to the discussion remotely.
Thank you for inviting me.
Lastly, we have Lera Laudan, who's the head of the Ukrainian local media development agency, ABO. So ABO has been developing 60 media outlets in towns across Ukraine with a total monthly audience of over 3.6 million users, while also actively developing 7 thematic media outlets of its own. Yesterday, many of you attended the very moving award ceremony of the IPI-IMS World Press Freedom Award and the Free Media Pioneer Award. Well, in 2022, ABO was the recipient of the Free Media Pioneer Award for its impact on the development of Ukrainian journalism in the conditions of war. So over the past few days, we've been reminded of the fact that the financial viability of free independent media is in crisis. And when financial viability is in crisis, so is the media's ability to serve the public's need and maintain editorial independence. I'll just provide you with a couple of key figures before we start the discussion, just to frame this discussion. So as you all know, the failure of traditional business models was heightened with the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. An economist impact report found that the COVID-19 crisis had accelerated the decline of newspaper revenue by around 3 years. News deserts continue to grow, and local media organizations have been particularly impacted. Google and Meta are now receiving approximately half of all global digital advertising spending. And according to data from Zenith, between 2015 and 2020, global newspaper ad revenue dropped by half. So this is just, to frame the conversation. So the overarching question that we would like to address in this session is how, in the face of these challenges, local media can capitalize on their unique strengths and innovate to bring in revenue while safeguarding their mission and safeguarding their independence. We know that the unique value of local media lies in their close-knit relationship with their community and their ability to provide tailored and relevant content to their audiences. So to start off the conversation, I'd like to ask each of the panelists to summarize in maybe a minute or so what the unique value proposition that your organization has in relation to the local communities that it serves. So the elevator pitch, we'll start with you, please, Isabella.
Oh, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. The elevator pitch is going to be... So we are a local news organization based in São Paulo, and we exclusively, as Sarla said, cover the low-income communities of Great São Paulo. Great São Paulo is a city of 22 million, like it's a metropolis of 39 cities together, and makes up to 22 million people. But when we talk about low communities, we are talking about 85% of these 22 million people. So that's how unequal our country is. And I think our value proposition is still that we are going to celebrate 15 years next year. So we started very small, but we started in 2010. We are still swimming in the blue ocean. It's like nobody is really caring about our audience yet. It's still neglected in terms of serving them with information that is useful and meaningful for daily life, and for them to see themselves as part of the city, as part of the rights that every citizen has. So we are simply doing normal journalism for a completely non-served audience. So I think that's my pitch right now.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you, IPI, for the opportunity to be in such a respectful panel. Thank you again. And as for local media, like you said, local media in the modern world have their importance, and their importance is connected with the part that they empower citizens. That they foster civic engagement and bring communities together. And when Portal Well Info, when we created Portal Well Info in 2013, that was the main motive for our future work. And I heard Isabella when she said that she covers a city with 22 million people, and I serve to the community with only 20,000 people. So it's a big disparity. But the main thing for us was to bring information related and important to that community. The difference, as I see, between local media and national or international media is that they bring topics that serves or that are important in everyday life of the citizen, of local citizens, that can include local government decisions, environmental concerns, community events, and information that are related to the local community. one main thing, and I think that's the first bridge that we created to our communities, that our content was and is bilingual. So it's in Albanian and in Montenegrin. In that time, we were the only online media, or the first online media, and one of the rare medias that had the content in two languages. And despite of the informing all the citizens that live in our city, our intention was to create a social cohesion between the inhabitants or citizens in our community.
Very much, Admir. Please, over to you, Albina.
Thank you. It's really happy that I have this chance to represent my media outlet. Thank you, Ryan, for your call. Like you say, I come from Tuzla, third largest city in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and my media outlet is more traditional media outlet. Now we are in process of rebranding, and we want to, in our name, that we can include our digital media and our online platforms. I still believe that's really important thing. Most important thing is our audience, our publics, and I still believe that is most important that we work in public interest. For example, we usually work on research about what public think about us, and we have answer, you really care about our needs, our problems, and our issue. And for me, for my media outlets, that's why we still doing this job.
Super. Lera.
Yeah. Hi all. My organization, 7 years ago, we launched our first 10 media outlets. Right now, we have more than 50 outlets in our network. So we also, as you actually, we are working with small and medium-sized towns with population 10, 20, 30,000 people. Yeah. So, yeah. And some of them right now is near the front line. 10 of these media outlets are in towns that right now is occupied by Russians. Of course, editorial offices, they moved, but we'll still continue to maintain all these websites, to update these websites on a daily basis. Yeah. So about value, yeah, I will talk in condition of war actually, because it could sound probably a little bit strange, but what we saw and what we understood, that right now Ukrainian local media, they got this, I don't know, chance or maybe opportunity to build a real trust between media and local audience, to show or to explain to locals a real value of local media outlets. What I mean? I mean that you know, a lot of local media outlets in Ukraine, the small media, they became, because of the war, they became really powerful, I don't know, stakeholders, players in their communities, because they are helping to solve different problems of people, to help local government from time to time. So they, right now they play a really huge role. So, and we understand it, we saw it, and we launched like pilot program right now in 10 communities in Ukraine. And we train journalists slash mediators. We called it like mediator. Mediator is a person who not just covers situation, but also help to build a healthy and productive communication between government, locals, local activists, community, etc., etc. And I will talk about it more during the panel, yeah, because
actually, great. Yeah, I'll be asking you questions specifically about that mediator initiative. Victor, over to you. And please also feel free to provide, share with us if you wish to do so, and not if you don't, any information or thoughts about your recent harrowing experiences.
Yeah, thank you. So I represent Nakipilo. It's a local media outlet from Kharkiv region, one of the biggest regions in Ukraine. We are working from 2014, and well, we are obviously talking about the war in the region. Our journalists are working on the front lines and in the city, filming the casualties of Russian attacks. Also, one of our main goals is to offer to our audience explanations, especially in those topics and areas where the state authorities, city authorities are under-communicating and not providing enough information for people to make the decisions. Our audience is so used to this that when the state adopts some incomprehensible law, they write in the comment section, well, we'll wait until the Nakipilo will explain it in some big article. Also, our press center is a platform for discussions about the future of the city and the country. And from these discussions, the big changes in the region began, like in city planning or some social security changes, etc., etc. Also, one of our other goals is to be the voice of the people who need to be told about, especially in the border areas nearby the border, nearby the front line, because these people are not often visited by all Ukrainian media, especially in small villages. So we are covering their problems, and we are telling about these problems to the country, to the world, etc., etc. And obviously, we are not talking about only problems, but we are speaking about solutions, and we create articles in the solution journalism genre to provide solutions to our community. That's all.
Thank you very much, Victor. So while we are on the topic of Ukraine, I'd like to turn to you, Lera, to tell us more about how in the context of a full-scale war in Ukraine, where obviously the safety of journalists is a primary concern, but the question of how to survive financially in this context, in a context where advertising revenue has dropped dramatically, even more so than in other parts of the world that are not experiencing conflict. How in such a context have you been supporting local media organizations to remain afloat? And what concrete activities have you been implementing? And I'll allow you to also maybe develop a little bit more about that concept of mediator that you referred to in your introduction.
Yeah, thank you. When I was thinking about this panel discussion, and I thought, okay, what could I tell? Something to tell that it's new for you, that because if I will tell something that you heard from conference to conference, okay, what else? So I don't have this magic, I don't know, bottom, and I can say that, okay, we know how to earn money in Ukraine during the war in local media in small town. No, we don't have this decision right now, and of course international partners support us, and it's really, really important. In 2022 actually in 2022, I think a lot of Ukrainian local media outlets, they received this funding from international partners, and they received like extra funding, I mean, it helps them to hire one more people or two new journalists or something like that, or have more trips to make some reportages, etc., etc. But and what I saw, and actually I'm proud about it, because when they have a little bit sources than as usual, we saw the potential because they produced really high quality materials, and it was great. Right now, this the support from international partners goes down, but it's also okay because we understand that it will happen in that way. Yeah, but so they just do what they can do with their sources and these situations. Yeah, but what I would it was a question about money. Yeah, so
about how what concrete activities you're implementing to support them.
But one more point. As I thought previously, I think that right now this local media, they built a basement for their future, because I strongly believe that future of local media is in future they should be supported by local people, maybe by also local, I don't know, taxes, local government. But in case if we will find this mechanism that allows this media to be independent, to stay independent, yeah. So, but it's a process, and we are pretty far from this point. But right now we built a basement because we can show what role could local media play in their communities. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Lyra. Victor, while discussing this issue, I'd like to see if you might want to bring in any additional perspectives regarding how local media organizations are surviving in this terribly challenging context, and based specifically on the experience of Nakipilo. And while doing so, could you enlighten us on the meaning of Nakipilo, why you chose the name Nakipilo, and how it reflects the needs of your audiences that you're seeking to address?
One second. Yes, thank you. Okay, a short story. Our media was created as a reaction to a revolution of dignity in Ukraine, and there was an information vacuum in Kharkiv region because there was not so much independent media. So we created Nakipilo Media, and Nakipilo in Ukrainian, it means when the people is fed up with something, boiled up with something. So it was the reaction of boiling inside the civil society, boiling against the corruption in the state, in some lack of security and law in 2013 and 14. So this Nakipilo is a reaction to the feelings of the people. And we are trying to be this reaction to what people feel now, and trying to reflect their thoughts and emotions in what we are creating. But about survival and about money. When the full-scale phase of the war started and the advertising market collapsed completely in Ukraine, the team, like we tried to think in which areas we are good experts. How can we get the money? Obviously, we are supported by the international partners, by the European Union, but we know that this support, it wouldn't be forever, and we thought in which areas we are good experts, which competitions, which competencies the team has. Like we make great videos. We are good at communication. We are good trainers. We have like an excellent department for writing grant applications. We have a very good management system in our media. So we changed our direction and we began to focus not on advertising for business, but on consulting and content production for other NGOs, because NGOs, non-government organizations, they are even those that make like very big impact on society, they almost always don't know how to promote their activities. And as media communication specialists, we create for them promotional video articles and other content for such non-government organizations. We consult them, we help them to build stable structure, and that's become an additional and very valuable source of income that I could not say that it completely replaced the advertising income we have, but it helped a lot, and this niche we are trying to take is still growing. And also we changed the approach to work with the space of our press center, and now our community can organize here master classes, trainings, board game sessions, etc., etc. And this also became the other source of income that helped us to be stable and work for now.
Thanks very much, Victor. We'll go back in a little while to the issue of diversification of revenue streams. In the meantime, I'm going to now go over to Isabella. You work in a very different environment, but also at times challenging one. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about how your organization, by giving a voice to these underrepresented communities from the outskirts of São Paulo, how you've managed to create a community of interest and a sense of engagement and a relationship of trust with your audience.
Yes. It's a long story, but it's a long story as all relationships are, right? So we build up from scratch. And like the organization that we are now today, it's like 15 people at the newsroom, and we have this concept of local correspondence. So we have 70 local correspondents. It means so 100% of my organization, minus me, are young, talented professionals that come from the neighborhoods they're covering, small cities or neighborhoods, communities that we are covering. So, and this network of 70 local correspondents come as well from those communities. And they cannot, like, we are an organization that we don't accept pitches from freelancers, because you have to go through a process of training under our values and how we understand that we have to cover how we do local journalism, that it's like, it's not from top to bottom. So it's our local journalism comes from like the citizens' voice and needs and what they're seeing in their realities. And then we make journalism. So I got a little bit lost now, but it's a lot of, so having somebody, so now I got it. So having somebody that it's from the neighborhoods or the communities they are reporting about, understanding the whole context because they are from there, that's how you start building a relationship. And they become, that's why we call them local correspondents, because it's an analogy to international correspondence, that you are so inside the, you know, the soil and the context, that you come up with all the nuances that a story has to have. And they start to be like the focal points for communicating everything. Like sometimes it's a story that they need to pass on. Sometimes it's just like a citizen to wants to congratulate about, because if we didn't exist till now, like I don't be bragging about it, but like those communities, they have the mainstream media only reporting about the violence and the crimes that exist there, or sometimes what we call a good deed for a big organization that comes up with money and put up a soccer play field there, and 2 days after they're gone. So they don't really know what's going on in their community. So I think it's, as my colleague was saying, it's local journalism about also creating the possibility of belonging and sharing, and not only having the only two exits, which means like either you abandon the place or you're proud of something that is not good. It's actually really trying to transform it. And that's how we use information and the distribution of information. That's how we believe, that's how we trust, we build trust.
Thanks very much, Isabella. Another very closely related unique value of local media organizations is that they're really able to have a clear grasp on their audience's needs and interests, but also on their audience's habits, which may be shifting, especially in recent years. So I wanted now to turn to you, Albina, to tell me, and please then Admir, you'll have the same question, how your outlet has been using this information that you have about your audiences to inform content, to inform strategies, and possibly also to inform revenue streams.
Well, like I said before, it's really important to be close with our audience. And so many times we ask audience what they want to hear, to see, and we try to find how we can include our audience in our content. For example, like I say, we was more traditional media outlet. Now, in process of rebranding, we decide to include online audience in and our online media in one umbrella, because we know that our audience a lot of time spend on digital media, and we want to use that audience habits. For example, we create more digital content, and we try to make integration our radio, TV, and digital content in separate, different way to represent our information.
And concretely, in terms of engaging with your audience online, what strategies have you developed to, well, not only produce content online, but also create the sense of community that exists online as well?
We talk with them via comments or in inbox if we talk about Facebook, but we use ECR tools. That's tools which development by BIRN, Balkan Investigation Reporting Network, and our audience can write what they think about some issue, and they love that. They really love that. I think the people, the audience, just want to be asked, and of course we have so close relation with audience, or phone, or email, or comments, like I said before, and with these tools we create content together, and that's really important for audience.
Thanks very much, Albina. Admir, the same question I had asked initially to Albina.
In the beginning, I will try to give some context to the story. We all know that all medias, even local ones, like the main tool is the information or independent journalism. What we needed time to understand is that, and somebody said that in yesterday's panel, that good information doesn't mean good money. And that's obvious, and that's something that we all know, and we needed time in our media outlet. We needed time to understand and to watch audience as a community. That is important, and to see our media as a business. To do that, or to create community, it's a two-way street. The first way is that you need to create channels to communicate with your audience, and like Albina said, you need to have a good online platform. We developed even app for iOS and Android. You need to create diverse content for different social media network, and to know which audience is and how to approach to them. And also you need to create content. For example, we started to create video content because we thought that that's important to reach our audience and to closely connect to our community. The other side is to understand this process, not like we are talking or reporting to the audience, but with the audience. And one of the tools, Albina mentioned it because we were together in one Media for All project, is the ECR, or Engaged Citizen Reporting Platform, that is developed by Balkan Investigative Reporting Network. And that does simply that, gives the opportunity to the audience to express their needs, to give or provide for us documents, testimonials, pictures, video content, everything that they think that will help us reporting about the issues that are important for them, and in that way helping us to create close connection with our community. And that was not easy, and I will give you a personal anecdote with my staff. When we started, I didn't mention this, when we started in 2013, there were just two of us. Me with more technical IT background, and my colleague that was more with a journalistic career behind it. And many years we worked only like that. And when I introduced him, because I'm more data guy, and when I told him about this platform, he was quite of resistance, because he's old school journalist, used to have his sources for the information, and used to, let's say, treat the other side like an audience. But when we firstly tried the platform, he was totally surprised. And why is that? We need to see all the context of the story, where we work and where we live. We live in a country like Montenegro that has, or was, hybrid democracy. I think it's even now, where people are afraid of the authorities, are afraid to speak freely because they can have consequences about that. Those consequences can be worse job opportunity, not advancing in the career, or simply having more inspection if you have some kind of business. On the other hand, we need also to know that we came from former socialist country, where the omnipotent state is deeply rooted, and where people think that states know everything. And even every critique that you have, they know, and then they will punish you. If you give your audience, in this case your community, the opportunity to freely and secretly express their critiques, they will use that. And I think that's the most important bridge that you can create with your community, always knowing the context of the story, where you work and where you have your activities.
Of course, Lara, please.
Yeah. So actually, these journalists / mediators that I mentioned already, they actually do not typical tasks for like general journalists, because, for example, they already hold around 80 in-depth interviews with stakeholders in communities from local government and activists, etc., because these interviews, they are not for publishing, just for understanding and for analyzing different point of views, blogs, etc. So they had this like a lot of pages of these interviews. They highlighted pains, gains, jobs, and then we use all this data and insights in our content planning. It's like the first thing, but another one thing, they use this data for events and also public discussions, because as you said, it's important to not to talk with audience, but together, yeah, like not to audience but with audience, yeah. So and one editorial team, they also held like small research, and they asked audience, okay, what public or social services do you need, and what services we don't have in our community but you really need it. And then they mentioned that a lot of people said we need something like bus or taxi for people with disabilities. And then it was like first step to huge communication campaign in this community, because the first step, they ask local government, okay, how many people with disabilities we have and what services we provide for them. Then we tested the services with audience. Then we ask, okay, we want to have this taxi, how much does it cost and what does it mean? Not in general, like we don't have money, sorry, but what exactly does it mean? We want to help local government to implement it. So the fund also people in neighbor communities, they already had the service, and they covered what does it mean to implement this service. Then there was a like public discussion with local government and government for this other communities and local activists. So we have this plan, and local government, the last one, local government said, okay, we don't have money, and journalists said, okay, you know, we could launch a crowdfunding campaign. Also, we could invite like popular bloggers, YouTube bloggers, and to gather money with them. They are ready to do it. So we just like push government and different stakeholders and from others to do something, and we give them ideas. So like local journalists for us right now looks like that. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Nira. So that, I mean, you're very much emphasizing once again the public interest nature of local journalism, and solutions journalism was mentioned earlier on. So now going back to you, Victor, you referred to the diversification of revenue streams that has been explored by Nakipilo in the last 2 years, especially, and the various other types of activities that you have been implementing beyond pure journalism to ensure your sustainability. So my question is, while those activities enable Nakipilo to continue functioning, is there a risk, and this is a point that Isabella made, and I'll be turning to her afterwards, of detracting the focus of news organizations from their primary purpose, which is public interest journalism? Like how much of your time and effort, energy goes to the other types of activities that you mentioned generating revenue and that are not, strictly speaking, journalism?
That's actually an excellent question, and it's quite a challenge. But we are, well, when we started to diverse and when we started to look on these sources of income I've mentioned, it was a big challenge, because our journalists, our videographers, they needed to work, I would say 20 hours per day, because they needed to do their journalist job and to do also some this consultant or content creating job, and it was exhausting. But in some time we managed to make a more optimal and more and less exhausting model, and we started to engage other media professionals, not from our media. We found some freelancers that are helping us with this activities I mentioned, with NGO content creating for such organizations. And actually it's become easier for the team to work, and we gave job to even more people and to even more media professionals. And our team, which is I would say quite challenging for Ukrainian media during the war, our team not became less, but it grows with the time, and we really like it. And also we are just hiring more and more people, and also we are starting to work with more and more freelancers, and we are trying to like expand the range of our activities to get more income, and to make for our journalists the way that they can do only their primal work, which is reporting, covering, writing articles, etc., etc. So the short answer is we understood that we need not to try to work to do all the work with our existing staff, but to grow and to expand and to find more people.
Thank you very much, Victor. So I'm now going to turn to Isabella, but just to give you a heads up that after this question, I'll be opening up the floor to questions from the audience. We'd really like to hear from you, so start thinking about any questions or comments you might have regarding the interventions of our panelists. So Isabella, I'd be very keen just to hear from you about your perspectives on this idea of how to maintain the core mission of local media organizations, also bearing in mind the fact that you are working for an organization where income generating activities are very difficult to envisage, in particular income generating activities that would involve any kind of financial contribution or involvement from your audiences, be it crowdfunding or anything of the sort, given that you're serving underprivileged audiences that probably don't have even enough to cover their basic needs. So yeah, over to you.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I do understand your point, Victor, and I think the challenge now is that you transfer the overload of work to the management staff. You have more freelancers, you have more projects, so it's you who's working probably 20 hours a day. So one of the things I'm very critical about that, because we keep hearing about the revenue stream diversification everywhere, but so we try to resist at our organization as much as we can. We try to educate all the partners that want to do partnership with us, and we are not talking only about grant, because grant making is also something that pushes us to do side projects, and sometimes it's not what our audience needs or what we are strategically have thought that the direction that we are going. So sometimes we had to go sidewalk and do something because it's going to bring money to do something else, but that's very time consuming, and it drives our energy and our expertise and our talent and our knowledge and everything that we can go forward to go sideways. And even with the commercial partners, we're trying to tell them that like we are important because of the work we are doing, and like really sustaining, sponsoring, or like just putting their brand together with us is something that it's gonna return them with whatever adventures they're looking for. But if we diverse our activity and to do like, you know, we are really trying to diversify within the journalism side of the story. So if it's gonna do an event, we really clearly state that it's gonna be a fundraising event for the journalism. So we don't really do something in exchange, or we try to do as transparent as it is, and we haven't done it yet because we are still like very critical about it. But that's it, you know. So we do have some partners that is started like with long relationships again, understanding that what is important is to support the journalists that we are doing. So we work a lot with showing the impact that we make. We have like an impact newsletter. So it's very like they know what we are doing and how the journalist is really like changing realities and educating people and amplifying voices that weren't heard before. And that's making the largest metropolis in South America accessible to more people, more than the 15% that were able to access the rights in their city before. So I think it takes time, but we are still believing that diversifying, it really has to mean maintaining your journalism time to do journalism, because that's the work we sign up for, which is not an easy one. But, yeah. So.
Thanks very much, and thank you to all of you for your inputs. Now I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you might have. Please introduce yourself before asking your question. Okay, over there maybe first.
Hello, Valeria, Media Development Foundation, Ukraine. Have a question for you all. What is the main revenue stream in your media? And if it is audience finance support, how big is this stream and how you maximize this audience engagement finance?
Who would like to start? Maybe Admir or Albina?
Thank you. Well, if we talk about my experience, for us is still TV. They give us more money for our content and for our sustainability. But we decide to talk about a really important issue on some different way. We know that we have a little space for marketing, but we and people and audience don't want to hear hard news. We decide to produce podcast about really important issue like women's right, and we decide to find responsible, social responsible company, and them include in our content.
On your primary revenue stream?
I would try and explain our revenue streams or our business model. It's simple. It has from the beginning, it had two staples. The first one was ads or banners in an online platform, and the second one were the project grants. Now we have the third one. The third one is creating content for other NGOs and making their activities visible. I think that colleague from Ukraine had the same revenue stream or similar revenue stream. Like we all know, all NGOs need to have visible activities, need to have as much as possible impact they can have for their projects and their activities. With introducing video content to our media work, we created the possibility for having that kind of revenue stream. The good part of these three revenue streams is that they are balanced, and we don't have any supremacy of any of these revenue streams. The bad part is, for example, for the project grants, is because they take you mostly off what you asked earlier from the main journalistic work. What we are trying to do now is to implement only the NGO projects that are closely related to media work or to create media content. In the beginning, we couldn't do that. We couldn't choose what we want to work or do, because we are in the kind of way we needed to implement anything that we could, any grant that we could get at that time. Now we have that possibility, and we are trying to choose the ones that are with creating the media content. The first staple, or the ads, in the beginning, it was really hard. People were used to use billboards, and they didn't quite understand that the visibility of their companies is good, and they thought only that they are helping us by putting the ads on the platform. But with the numbers, with the statistics, I don't like page views. I think that page views often take us in the different direction from the good journalism, but it's the good tool to get more revenue from ads, and to impact businesses to believe that their advertising in your platform is profitable to them, and they are not helping you with that, but they are helping to themselves too.
Thanks, Edmir. I'd be very keen to get at least one or two more questions. So if you don't mind, we'll move to the next question.
Thank you very much. My name is Aaron Ainomugisha from Uganda. I head Rise News Uganda Network. We tackle unreported and unreported issues. Have keen interest in the vulnerable and marginalized groups, the LGBTQI, then other issues like community issues that are not tackled, including corruption, then climate change, and other unreported issues. How can we be able to continue covering such stories without our government and other perpetrators choosing us for being pushers of the Western agenda? Because we are facing that, and that's a common issue across Africa. So how can we be able to deal with such stories without being accused of pushing the Western agenda? Thank you very much.
So would any of you like to respond? Of course, not specifically on the African context, but on the difficulty of reporting on certain sensitive topics that for which you might face reactions from your governments.
I think whenever you put sorry, I'm just whenever as much transparent as you can with how their story is going on, okay, it's like our organization is already, when it was born, of course, if we decide that we're going to serve only certain communities because they are underprivileged, because they are underserved, we had already made a standard, so this is where we are. But when we are reporting, we try to do it as neutral and with a lot of as much context and details that we can, because as you know, the more facts we put in the story, the more the less adjectives and the less militant you are, and the more descriptive of the situation you are. I think that's when no one can accuse you of just doing something else, or just going against the government, or just pushing an agenda that is not yours. You're simply describing life how it is with the voices that are coming to you. So that's how we approach. We cover a lot of sensible things. In a country that is very known by its inequality, and with the richest city within the richest city in Brazil, São Paulo is the richest one. It's 85% of those people are not certain that they can afford paying for a media because they have other issues, or so it's we are talking about something that is very, it's not comfortable for any local government or any regional government. So, but we try to do it as fairly as we can, you know, putting all the reality in the video, in a podcast, in a text, in a photo. So there is no way out. Like they cannot say we are pushing an agenda that it's ours or somebody else. It's just the reality that we are doing.
Thanks very much, Isabella. I've received a sign that we unfortunately need to end. So, well, I guess we won't have time for any further questions, but maybe at least a round of applause for our panelists, and thank you, really. It was a pleasure sharing.